Hi everyone, I'm MatMat.
I'm PauPau.
And this is Oliver, our friend. So we're doing something different today. Today we're going to do kind of, not an interview, but a discussion about green energy. So it's more informative this time, about renewable energy. But so the goal is to kind of ask you some questions, like myths about renewable energy, and see what like noobs like you guys that don't know anything about it think. What kind of is... I mean, you're the representative of the entire populace right now. So yeah, basically what I'm going to do is ask you guys questions. We've got a discussion going, see what you think, tell me what you think, and then just let it evolve. Okay?
Okay.
Alright, so maybe the first question is, do you guys know a lot about renewable energy?
Renewable energy.
Yeah, in general. What is it?
Well, the idea is that you are, like, for me, for what I understand, the concept of renewable energy is that you don't really expend something from the earth. The earth provides it, or the universe provides it on its own to you.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean that it's unlimited, but it pretty much almost is unlimited.
Yeah, exactly. So it renews itself.
Yeah.
Like fossil fuels, you can use them once, and then they're not renewable. Right? But like, what do you guys see as like the most, or like the types of renewable energy? The most important types. Which ones do you know about?
Types, as in.
Like you talked about
sources.
solar, like solar. Or
solar, wind, water, those kinds of things. Sunlight.
Yeah, thermal, like geothermal energies.
Yeah. But biofuel and biogas is not like renewable.
No, they do see that. So biofuels, they see that as renewable because it renews over time. Like
but does it renew in time to make up for the depleted resources that you've used? Because it's also like, if it renews itself, fine, but if it's too slow, like if you keep tackling deforestation by planting new trees, but it takes 50 years until a tree is matured, versus how many trees we cut down every year, then it's not.
Yeah, so there's definitely a time lag on biofuels. And
some trees are considered, like wood is considered biofuel.
Yeah, so officially most of the fuels in the world are actually renewable in a sense, because most of it is still wood and used in developing countries. You talked about renewables as they are like kind of the types. What do you think is the biggest growth of renewables in the world right now? Or what is like destined to be the biggest renewable energy source?
I think maybe wind for now.
Oliver?
I think we're still I was actually going to go with water.
Yeah, the answer is solar actually, because solar brings us to a whole other debate, because solar is consistent during the day at least. Wind you might not have wind for like a month if you're like.
I feel like a dumb now. But what during the night?
Yeah, that's the thing. So that's why we need a mix. But do you think that like there is a future for renewable energy in the world? Do you think people are just want to stay with oil and coal and all that stuff? Fossil fuels?
In my opinion, there is no other way. It's just gonna be what it's gonna be, and people can like be against it in the beginning, but fuck you, you're dead in 100 years.
It's a transitional moment.
It's a transitional moment.
Well, that maybe we're all dead in 100 years. You know, if we don't do it.
Yeah, people were all happy with their horses back in the day, but look at everyone having cars right now.
Yeah, but they don't realize these gradual changes that happen. So like it's the. I mean, I don't know if you complain about humanity, but then like just the gradual change, you don't realize these things. They think like your life is the most important, so you don't realize that like 100 years ago we had a totally different society, and 100 years from now we'll have a totally different society.
I mean, the generation that right now is growing up and the children that we will have will be completely different already.
And they will
really gradual, because it is going quite fast, right?
It should go faster.
The thing is, technology goes faster than human opinion. But technology can advance human opinion quite a bit.
Yeah.
The problem is that politics and law always lag behind. Technology is fast, and it just keeps on changing. Yeah. But the laws, like it should just be law that renewables are the norm. And would you then agree that it's technology that changes first, then the laws, and then people's mind, or first people's minds and then the law?
Well, yeah. I mean, if like on a non ecological like topic, like we never considered the whole idea of data privacy until Facebook and Twitter and all social media. That's really just like so. Human development is slower than the technology that we're developing, because we're not thinking about these things, because the development of technology and the development of a profitable technology is more important than the human aspects about it. But that's the same thing with I think in ecological thing.
Yeah, but I do believe that human creativity is way faster, because if we look at science fiction, a lot of these ideas like renewable energy and wireless phones and stuff were already appearing in movies even before it was even invented for real life use. So I feel that human creativity is super fast. But then trying to get society to move along with you is super slow.
Yeah, so that's
and it takes, I think, around 2 generations at least to have like this big changes. I think laws are maybe the slowest.
Yeah.
Public opinion is second slowest, and then
that's funny because it's actually the opposite with not renewables specifically, but like the whole sustainability thing is like. The governments realize it, politics
but that's
realize
what
it,
I wanted
that's
to
the change,
say.
but lots of people are still like.
But that's what I wanted to say. Like laws need to be put in place to be able to guide society forward, kind of. And this issue is so important right now that there's no other choice but to kind of force it into the law.
And another interesting aspect is because it's such a global issue. You can't do it in a single country or in a single region. You have to have big laws that like top down kind of things.
But
and you need bottom up initiatives as well, but like it has to kind of like be both directions.
Well, see the biggest like my issues as a leftist with it.
With what?
With the whole idea about climate change and renewable energy and green energy is that it is a requirement that you should have these changes happening for just the survival of the human race, and not only the human race, but every life form on this earth, right?
Yeah.
We have to understand that we are only a part of this whole ecological system, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is, I think, right now is that the things that are causing these problems, like the oil industry, the plastics industry, they're all industry that that are extremely profitable, right? We cannot. The biggest problem right now is that, like the United States is a perfect example of it. Is that there are a lot of people who truly believe in that. These laws need to be put into place.
Yeah.
But money and politics are intertwined with each other there, and you have a lot of sneaky finances going to, for instance, climate denial, and they're spreading misinformation, and the misinformation needs to be rooted out, and that's more effort for us.
Like
you understand?
Money and politics shouldn't mix.
No.
It shouldn't.
True. No. That generally, I agree. Like capitalism is bad for the planet, but in like specifically renewable energy, actually that's changed now because it's actually cheaper to produce renewable energy than most fossil fuels. Now you could say that the economic story is behind the renewable story, because it's just cheaper to do it sustainably now. So is that good or bad?
Well, we always say that like a certain system, if you have pure communism, pure socialism, or pure capitalism, that's bad. But if you have it in a more controlled version, then it's okay. And I feel like capitalism has gone to the point that it is not controlled at all anymore. There are people that have billions and billions and billions of dollars somewhere offshore, and there are people not even being able to afford an apartment. So that's capitalism not controlled. There is no place in this world for billionaires, I believe. There is no place. And to quote AOC on this is that someone asked her, like, okay, but I developed all of these computers, let's say Apple, I developed all of them, so that's my right to get all of that money. And she says, no, because you didn't make those PCs all yourself.
Yeah.
No, it's faulty logic, and the same with...
But it's
Can you link that to renewable energy somehow?
Yeah, because, for example, we joined like a green energy network. Am I allowed to say who? Or Bolt. And their initiative...
We'll post a link.
Yeah, we'll post a link. Here.
Bolt is like an green energy platform active only in Belgium for the moment, and they try to break like the power of the big energy companies by like producing energy very locally and having it consumed very locally as well. So you can go on their website, you can buy energy from like Hank, who lives like 7 doors down, in a manner of speaking. Local energy consumed locally, produced locally, to be more ethical, more transparent, green energy. So they're trying to get the Belgian system to turn greener, not just the European system.
Subscribe to Bolt.
Renewable energy should have an infrastructure internationally, but what I also find important is local business.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have more local parties involved in the whole, spider web of connections, then when one has problems or one falls away, then another one can, still
Specifically
exist.
for energy.
For energy,
yeah.
For example, for solar panels, you have a lot of people that have like a field of solar panels, and they can, rent it out and stuff. So I think that's important.
Decentralized energy.
Because I think energy should not be monopolized. That's super dangerous.
Well, then might as well go for the whole idea that energy should be free. Because if energy comes from a renewable source, nobody can limit that source anymore. So you can't say like, oh, I have the oil barrels. I am the one who can control the supply from the demand that is. So I have power.
Yeah.
Well, now we're getting everything out of things that are not controlled. We can't control the sun, the wind.
That's an interesting concept that energy should be free. But then I counted that we have all these costs for maintaining a network and maintaining the transmission lines for energy and all these costs for transport. Like, wouldn't that still be a cost then? So, or how would you see that?
I can understand that that's this idea that it's the costs that we need to, like, for maintenance. Let's just say, just limited to one thing. Maintenance is going to be a cost.
Yeah.
Though the problem is that most of the time it's just like used as an excuse to generate a profit, right? It's not like money goes in to do all the costs. We also have to pay our workers who are still living. Have to also pay their lives and their rents and stuff like that. So it's. I feel like if ecological issues should not be viewed in a capitalist lens.
Yeah,
it should be viewed in a social, ecological lens, is the way that it's supposed to.
Because they say that energy is a basic right.
Yeah.
So I feel like it should be treated as like health insurance or education, which is, you have to go to school. So you have to have electricity in your home.
No, it should be provided. You don't have to go to school. You should be able to.
And as I said, there is no room for billionaires in the system. Imagine what we could do if the money was well spent. Imagine if all the fraud we got rid of fraud in our country. Like, just all of these new possibilities open up, and the new budget opens up.
Okay, so I like the discussion, interesting, but maybe moving on more to renewable energy in Belgium. What do you know about it? Or energy in Belgium, maybe start with that.
Energy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Belgian energy providers, I feel like.
So
there's a few big ones. And there are a few more international energy providers that also have some bases in Belgium. I mean, we're working as students for a certain energy company. And right now we transfer to Poland, so I also know that there's local initiatives for renewable energy. But I do know that in Belgium there's a difference between Flanders and Wallonia, because in Wallonia you get like some like money from the government if you have solar panels, more than you do in Flanders. And I think this should be a Belgian issue.
So what energy sources do we have in Belgium?
Energy sources.
Yeah, solar,
we have
as you mentioned.
Solar, we have wind quite a lot. We have quite a lot of...
Not only renewable, all energy.
Not all energy. We have...
Nuclear.
I'm not sure if we have water. I think water.
Do we have water?
I think so,
A little bit, yeah.
Maybe in
biogas?
Biofuels we have? I'm not sure about biogas. Wait, I have my
cheat sheets.
But I feel like we import a lot of energy, right?
Yeah, we are still in debt. We're in energy debt towards France and Germany, I remember.
We shut down one of our plants, right?
For
multiple ones.
Just for maintenance, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure we also have biofuel that is generated from human waste.
But do you mean like generated here in Belgium?
Yeah.
Because we do import a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
No, used in Belgium.
Used, yeah. Everything then.
So the energy sources used in Belgium are 48.3% oil and derivatives, 25.6% natural gas, 5.5% of solid fossil fuels, so coal, 19.4% nuclear energy, 8.3% renewable and waste, and 0.9% others. I don't know what others is, but not big. But so, not a lot of renewable energy. What do you guys think of that?
It's shit!
That's shit.
We should be ashamed of ourselves.
You should.
It's probably because of transport a lot.
I'm not sure.
Oil.
Alright, so that's kind of like the energy situation in Belgium. And so some people say that there's like 25% of the energy in Belgium is green. But that's because there's this whole situation in Europe. You have the emissions trading system, which we're not going to get into detail because it's quite complicated. But basically, countries like Iceland, they produce loads of green energy, and because they overproduce green energy, because they have to get like say 80%, but they do 100%. The 20% that they overproduce, they can sell the rights to other countries in Europe.
So that's
in Europe, on the European level, the green energy is getting better because places like Iceland are overproducing. But places like Belgium, which are buying these green energy certificates, are actually producing that green energy. So it seems like it's getting better in Europe. It is getting better in Europe, but in Belgium specifically, it's getting shit. That's where that Volt thing that we subscribe to. That's why that's so cool because they really work with local people that produce green energy locally.
It really feels like it's just skewing the statistics, just so to make ourselves, just so that we can, pat ourselves on the back and, look and tell everybody, look how forward we are, we have it, even though we're
in a European
4%.
Sense,
how much was it in Belgium?
8 point something.
8 point something.
Nothing, right? But so in a Europeans, from that perspective, it is working well because on a European level, green energy is getting better and better every year. Yeah. But on specifically for Belgium, it's actually not getting better at all because we're not stimulating innovation or a drive to green energy because now we have to pay. We're the losers of this trading system because we're doing so poorly. So what do you think of that? Did you know about that?
I knew about that.
Well, yeah, because you both. Did you know about that, Oliver?
No, I did not. I honestly, I did not spend all that much time thinking about how much green energy we have here.
It is less than I wanted. You know how you want to believe something and you want to believe that, like, no, like, well, 20%, and we're still growing, but as always, Belgium disappoints.
Especially in terms of green stuff. They're not
I mean, it's not like, well, first of all, where we're going to place, solar panels. I mean, except for roofs, obviously.
That's the thing. No,
everywhere.
I just read that just now. But the solar panel capacity in Belgium only has capacity to produce 15.6% of the energy in Belgium. So really not that much. It's something, but it's not. Like, we can't focus on solar in Belgium because we don't have the lands for it, right?
Yeah.
If you have tracts of desert like the Sahara, then
it's more like
useless, right?
Yeah, but it's also like putting it on top of the roof. Like, is it like the whole surface of Belgium that if you only do it, you can only provide enough energy?
I think
or
all the
available
land and roofs and everything counts.
What they should invent is just all of the tiles that we use for our roofs and all of the windows should be like solar panels.
That's another thing.
But just being smarter about what we use.
But then we'd have to renovate all the buildings. That would be even harder.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of cost.
And in all fairness, we do have to renovate all the buildings to be more energy efficient, so you could link it with that, possibly. But then my question for you is, if solar is not the option in Belgium, what would be the best renewable source?
In Belgium?
Yeah. What, according to you guys, do you think would be the smartest to invest in? That can be nuclear as well, and biofuels.
I don't think nuclear is an option. There's a lot of dirt. There's a lot of dirty stuff, and I'm not talking about the waste. Yeah. There's a lot of dirty stuff in nuclear energy. I'd say wind would be the best.
Wind or water, because we do have a lot of rivers coming through Belgium everywhere. So
yeah, it's not like there's any life forms in them anyways. Have you seen the Dell?
I mean, we have the harbor. If we can just put a lot of systems there, when every ship is coming in and out, all of that energy is being used. Then
tidal energy, but we don't have much of it.
Or maybe wind and water at the same time. Wind turbines that are in the ocean or something on our coastline.
The consensus among scientists, I read this report by this forum by Belgian experts on green energy in Belgium, and they say that offshore wind turbines is the best solution. Wind in Belgium has a big opportunity because the North Sea is very shallow. Maybe it's something about nuclear, because some people see it, or it's counted as CO2 low, not neutral, but because it has most of the production of energy that happens there's no CO2 emissions. Do you think that's a good categorization? Should it be seen as a renewable energy source?
If you can find a way to make nuclear waste go away faster or just not exist at all, then I agree. Else, I'm like, no.
But so the waste is the issue for you.
The waste is the issue.
But would you say that there's a future for it in Belgium? Because there's no emissions.
There
might not be enough sun or enough wind all the time. So would that be interesting to mix it with that?
For me, if that's a better option than what we have now, nuclear, I know that there's some reservations with nuclear energy. I get that. But for me, the biggest problem is the waste. Especially with nuclear energy, a lot of people have a very negative connotation when you think about nuclear, which I get. But I've seen a lot of people talk about how that's kind of wrong because it's one of the opportunities that we have and it's not being used because people have a negative opinion.
Yeah.
And I didn't know enough about the nuclear energy ways to be able to have an opinion. In the past I was like, no, nuclear is bad and you should never do that, they should all close the plants down. But when I looked into it a little bit more, there was actually a chance that this might work. The only problem for me is still the waste.
Yeah.
I disagree I sort of disagree. Why I disagree is that I don't think there is a chance for it because, again, it is still putting fuel in the hands of people who are not the miners, the owners of the mines, right? It's still putting so it's still going to. There's still the same problem of it being profitable will still be there, and this is something that we can't think of in the lens of a capitalist lens.
So you're talking about uranium mines.
Uranium mines. The waste is again also a problem that I fully agree with. I think the best that we can do with nuclear energy is that it's now should be used as a transitional period. That we should use it to generate our energy now so that we can completely get away from all the things that are causing climate change or speeding it up, right? And then move to more green energy.
So it would be temporary for you. So you see now for what, next 20 years, 50 years, 100 years to keep some nuclear nuclear power plants while we try to transition to wind nuclear.
I cannot.
But I feel like the infrastructure to be able to, get nuclear energy is so massive and is so expensive. Yeah. So I think to go away from that again is gonna be impossible unless they find a way to then repurpose the factories used for nuclear energy for something else then again.
Yeah, but then it's also going to be the issue that the biggest issue I have with nuclear energy is just as a whole is that it's extremely expensive. It's extremely expensive, and because of it, it's an expense, and you as a business need to cut expense and raise profit. Mm-hmm. You can't really do it. There are laws against it, right? You do not want Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island,
and there is no
Fukushima,
argument.
Right?
And there's no argument that energy should be non-profitable.
Sorry.
That energy as a basic right should just not be profitable. But
but
it's a problem of human greed. Yeah. To be honest, human greed is still the biggest enemy of humanity. To be honest.
Sure, I agree.
Yeah. And ignorance.
But okay, so then the conclusion by the experts in Belgium was that the mix of renewables that we're going to go for, that they advise, is 74% wind and 26% solar. I don't know how they're going to do that if you can only put 15.6% in Belgium, but.
I guess then the rest will be
But that's 15.6% is with the solar panels and wind 74 and then 26 solar.
Yeah.
What if they also put solar technology on those same windmills in the ocean where nothing can touch it, or floating
they do that too,
solar panels?
Floating solar panels.
Yeah, then.
But then you have problems with tides and waves.
Just put solar panels on all the boats.
Yeah, but then how would you get energy to land where people need it? You need enormous batteries on boats then.
But you plug in the boat.
Yeah, but boats can't store energy. You need something to store the energy on.
You put it in the thing with the big. Don't we already have humongous wires that go on the ground, go through to different
the
oceans?
Yeah.
Then you just have little charging stations in the ocean that boats have to go to and kind of in space. Like a space station.
Or like one of those creepy ass lawnmower electric things that just go around. That's on the ocean with solar panels.
That's also a huge problem. Shipping with all of those, the fuels for boats is horrible. Tourism, the cruise ships.
Yeah. Okay, but I think we're more or less finished. Anything you like? Did you learn anything interesting?
I learned that Belgium is again a disappointment.
Yeah, there's yet another reason to not mention that I'm Belgian in other countries.
Yay!
We should just all accept that things are moving forward, and there are, of course, problems that come with that, but then we should find solutions to them. And if you have any criticism, for renewable energy, then be part of the solution and don't fucking complain all the time.
Alright, then we've come to the end of this, whatever it was. This was Oliver and MatMat PauPau, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
You can't see me smile here, but I'm happy.
It's a good channel!